We are going to start down on the mat like we did on Monday. Well, you just have to go now. In our heart opening posture. So you can take a couple of blocks if you have blocks. If you have a yoga bolster, you could use a bolster. You can also take a pillow and put it on top of your block if that makes it more comfortable on your back. Whatever you need to get yourself kind of in this heart opening position. Now, if you don't have anything or you don't want to do it, you can just lie flat on your back, that's fine. And then with your legs, they can go straight out in front of you, or you can bring your knees to butterfly, and that's gonna help sort of open your hips as well. You want your head to be somewhat supported, you don't want it dangling in space. So I have mine like on the edge of the block, but it's still kind of opening my throat and dropping my head back, but it's supported. And then the arms can come just down by your side. You could put them on your body if it's more comfortable there. So basically, as with everything, I want you to be comfortable. So today, as with Monday, we're going to be working on opening the chest, the shoulders, the throat, the kind of heart area, and also the hip area. So the idea here is just kind of relax into this opening posture and just breathe into it. So you can close your eyes and begin focusing on your breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, and just release. Try to breathe really deeply into the nose so that you're really expanding that rib cage. That's going to help facilitate that opening. Both of these postures, the upper part of your body and the lower part of your body, these are quite vulnerable, very open positions. They can actually bring up a lot of emotions. So if you find that happening and you are not liking that, make yourself safe. You can bring your legs out in front of you. You can release yourself down off of this block. If you're feeling that and that is strange and you're wondering why, it's not uncommon. And while you're lying here deeply breathing in and out, if you'd like to set an intention for today's practice, you may do that. As I said on Monday, which was International Women's Day, this is International Women's Month, and so I'm dedicating my practice to all of the women and yoginis of the world. And just take a couple of more deep breaths, releasing any tension you might have holding you back. Now to come out of this, if your legs are in butterfly, go ahead and bring them together. You can extend them or just leave them where they are. And just kind of gently roll off what you're elevated on. So just come on to the mat and move those things out of the way because we're going to come back onto our back. So just gently bring yourself down off the mat onto your back. And give yourself a stretch. Arms and legs reaching. And then bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug. This is a much safer posture in terms of emotion. So tucking yourself into a ball is a protective sort of posture position. Should feel quite good. So we're going to do a little bit of sort of gentle abdominal work, releasing our low back. So I'm going to go ahead and bring your knees to tabletop position. So knees are over hips, or bring them closer to take the pressure off your back and make it a little bit easier, okay? You don't need to, this will work your abs, but if you would like to not do that so much, just bring your knees closer. Move your arms out to the side just so they're away. We're gonna lower, I'm gonna go left first, you can do whatever side. So the left knee's gonna go down, right knee's gonna follow down to the mat. And then we're gonna lift the right knee and let the left knee follow. So there's no specific moment. It's just as your legs are separated, eventually if you keep going, the other one's going to go along with it. Inhaling through center, exhaling as you twist. So it's a little bit of openness still in the inner thighs and in the hips. And also this makes it a bit easier on the abdominals. It's harder if you move your legs together as a unit. So this way it should take the work out of the core. Side to side, if you want, you can roll your head with it. So you go opposite direction of your knees. If your knees go right, your head goes left, and vice versa. And let's just do one more round. Make sure you finish on the opposite side. So for me, it was the right side. And when you've done that, just bring yourself back to center. And just hug yourself into a ball again. And then let's keep that right leg in, extend the left leg long, hugging that right knee into the chest, flexing the left foot, so you're pushing it away. Just relaxing here. And then bend the left knee, placing it on the mat for a supine pigeon. So crossing your right ankle across your left thigh. Push that knee away just with the leg, without using your hands for a moment. So you're opening up your thighs with the strength of your leg. So basically you've got your foot tractioned here against your thigh and then your hip joint, and then you're pushing the knee away, and that should create a feeling of stretching here. And then if you'd like, you can lift that left leg up and grab hold either behind the thigh or in front of the shin and pull it towards your body. Still keeping that right knee pointed out away from you so that you're opening up through the hip. If your arm is by your thigh, you can press against it, kind of opening it up further. Trying to keep your head on the mat and as much as possible in towards chest rather than arching your head up towards the ceiling. And take a breath in and out. And then we're going to deepen that twist we just did a moment ago. So let that left knee drop down, cross the right leg all the way over. Lift your body, shift onto your left hip, and then let both knees drop down to the left. And then cactus your arms, so your palms are face up, trying to bring the right shoulder to the mat. If your knees are up in the air, you can always take a block and put the block under your knees like that, even on the highest point. And if your arms don't reach the floor in cactus, just let them go down. You just want them to be on the floor relaxed. That's the most important thing with these postures. It shouldn't feel bad, it should feel good. So adjust yourself so that it does. This should feel like a deeper twist than what we were doing a moment ago. If it's too much, uncross your legs and just let them stop. Couple more breaths. And then go ahead and come back to center, switching sides, extend the right leg, draw the left knee into the body, hug that left knee in. So this is an active stretch. It shouldn't feel super challenging, but it should feel active. You're pulling the shin in, pressing it towards your body as much as you can, pushing the right heel away, straightening that leg as much as you can. Taking a couple of breaths. And then bend that right knee, cross the left ankle across it, just like we did on the other side. So pause for a moment here, pushing your knee away with your leg, pressing the ankle against the thigh, the hip is where it is, and then you just push that knee away. Taking a couple of breaths, starting to feel that stretch. You might just stay here. This might be enough. If you want to take it deeper, go ahead and lift up, grabbing behind the right thigh or in front of the right shin. Keeping the head on the mat. Pressing gently against the right thigh. Taking a few breaths. So supine pigeon is always a good alternative if you don't like regular pigeon. So when we do pigeon, typically, some people don't like this. It might bother knees. It might just not be accessible. So this is a good alternative. So I think I am going to try to do pigeon at some point later in the practice. So if that doesn't work for you, just repeat this. Then go ahead and let that right foot drop down, cross the left leg all the way over, lift up, shift to your right hip, and then drop your knees to that side. And just like before, if your knees are up in the air and that's not comfortable, take a block and let your knees come down to the block. If it's comfortable to cactus your arms, cactus them. Otherwise, just however works down on the mat. And then turning your head, looking over that left shoulder. As much as possible, trying to bring that left shoulder towards the mat. So you'll notice, like maybe your knees go to the mat, but your shoulder's way up here. So that's an example of when I would say try to bring the shoulder down to the mat and let the knees lift up and let them rest on the block. The objective here is to twist the spine, right? So if your shoulder's all the way over here and you're on your side, you're not twisting as much. So try to get the shoulder there and then adjust the knees and the hips as you need. And take a few breaths. And then bringing yourself back to center. Hug both knees into your chesting and give yourself a little rock. And then just rock yourself up to sit. Spinning over onto hands and knees, we're going to come to a modified plank. So hands under shoulders, and then walk your knees back so they're not under your hips. I sometimes like to pop up to full plank and then just drop my knees down. That will put me in the right spot. But just now, like I felt like my hands were kind of in front of me. I want to get those hands under shoulders, knees back from the hips so that your body's on a long line. So this is a modification of our plank. So we're at an angle, like a ski slope. Your gaze is out in front of your fingertips. You're still working here. It shouldn't feel super easy. The core is still working, but it's easier than a regular full plank. So we're going to do a few rounds of our modified Chaturanga here. So the elbows are going to bend by the side as we exaggerate, bringing the chest towards the mat. The chest is going to come all the way into the mat. The chin's going to come into the mat. And then as the hips and pelvis press down, the chest is going to rise up in a cobra, and then we're going to push back to child's pose. And we're going to do that with the breath. So it's going to be an inhale to rise up to that modified plank. Exhale to lower down, chest, chin, hips melt into the mat as the chest lifts up. Notice the elbows are by my side, the shoulders are back. And then exhale to press back to your child's pose. So a few more rounds at your pace, inhaling to rise up, exhaling, lowering down. It's great practice for Chaturangas. Inhale to cobra, exhale, child's pose. If you're moving slower than me or faster than me, that's absolutely fine. If this is still a challenge, as it probably is for plenty of people to do the modified Chaturanga, don't worry about that. This is how we learn. This is how we practice. So go ahead and maybe do 2 more. Wherever you are, you can finish the one you're on and then start a new one. And then once you've done that second one, go ahead and bring yourself back and just take a few breaths in child's pose. Child's pose with knees together, toes together, rounding over, arms extending out if that feels good. Taking a few breaths. Rising up onto all fours. So now we're in tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Extend your right leg straight behind you, pushing that leg away. Not a kick up high, it's just at hip level. So trying to keep it level with the hip, belly button's pulling in so that you're in neutral spine. Couple of breaths, inhaling and exhaling. And then swing that leg all the way forward, coming into a crescent lunge. So rising up, hands are behind the right knee. We're on our left leg and we're pressing forward. One of the few times the knee might track slightly over the toes. Staying nice and tall and lifted through here. Hand behind the knee rather than on the knee. And then if you want to take it off, if you feel stable, you can bring those hands to heart center. You can stay right here, or if you want, you can extend the arms. If you're balanced, you're not going to fall over. You could extend those arms up. Your option. Inhale and exhale. If the arms are extended, make sure you keep those shoulders down away from the ears. Good, and then bringing those hands down to the mat. Let's go ahead and we're gonna pivot on that left knee. So the left knee pivots around, faces the long edge of the mat, and the right leg extends out for a gate pose. This is when you might find that a block or something is helpful to put by your right leg, something to elevate. You decide what works. So our knee is right under our hip. We're gonna lift that left arm, same knee that's bent, left arm lifts up. We laterally bend over, and that hand finds the block right here. So gate pose is classically done with the hand on the shin, the thigh, but I don't like you pushing in your knee, so I'd rather you either just let it go, which maybe you don't bend as deep, or you bend more deeply, but you've got that hand on the block instead. If you want, turning your gaze towards the ceiling. A couple of breaths into that left side body. Good, and then pressing yourself up. If you used a block, just move it out of the way. And then just pivot back around, step that right foot back, coming back into a child's pose. Sitting back on your heels, releasing the head down to the mat. Taking a couple of breaths. Good, rise up to that modified plank position, knees are out behind. We're going to do one round of our modified Chaturanga. So from plank, exhale, lowering down to the mat. Inhale up to cobra. Exhale, child's pose, but then as soon as you get to your child's pose, go ahead and rise back up, find all fours again. So hands back under shoulders, knees back under hips, all fours. Extending the left leg behind you, pushing that leg away, keeping the hips parallel and square. Notice the abdominal engagement here. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward, planting it down, rising up onto our right knee and left foot, and then hinging forward in our crescent lunge on this side. So again, lifting up from the crown of the head, growing tall as we press forward, feeling that opening of the right hip flexor. And then it's your option. Hands can live right here on the thighs. That's totally fine. If you feel stable and you want, you could bring them to the chest. And if you feel stable, you can extend them up. Maybe beginning to open that chest more towards the ceiling. Inhale, exhale. Good, bringing the hands down to the mat. I'm going to end up with my back behind to you for a moment. We're going to pivot onto that right knee, rising up to gate. Block is in the same place, it's just by the opposite leg. Right knee under right hip. Right arm comes up. Grow tall. Exhale as you come over and find the block. And then if you want, turning your gaze towards the ceiling. So the benefit of having my back to you is hopefully you can see a bit what's happening in the spine. So I'm not rounding over. I'm not arching back. It's just bending to the side. Inhale, exhale. Good, and then press back up. Pivot back around, just move that block out of the way to come back. All fours, and then find that modified plank. One round of our modified Chaturanga. And back to child's pose, just to release. And then the next time you inhale, coming back up to all fours. So working on our shoulders again, specifically, and working on more twists. We're going to do a little twist here. So I am going to go with my right arm because that will be easier for you to see me, I think. So the right hand is going to go behind the head. We're going to inhale. We're going to exhale to point that right elbow towards the ceiling. Inhale and exhale, right arm threads under and hovers above the mat. And then we do it again. Inhale through center. Exhale, right elbow towards the ceiling. Inhale through center. Exhale, reach that arm through. So as always, working at your own pace. You don't need to move as fast as I do or as slow as I do. Work as is best for you. What's most important is that you're breathing. If you want to deepen it, you could extend that right arm. I tend to not like to do that. Do one more or finish the one that you're on, and when you release that right arm through, go ahead and let the right arm melt onto the mat. So you've threaded the needle, the right arm finds the mat, the right cheek or temple finds the mat, and then extend your left arm out in front. And now you'll notice your left hip has probably pushed off to the side. See if you can bring it back to center so that your hips are actually square, parallel to the front of the mat. And take a few breaths here. If this bothers the right shoulder with your weight on it like that, go ahead and come off of it. Couple of breaths here. And then rising back up, so slide the left hand back, push yourself back up, coming back onto all fours. And then we will go to the other side. So the left hand comes behind the head. We're going to twist towards the ceiling, left elbow towards the ceiling, and then reach. Left elbow threads under to the opposite side. Again, working with the breath. So it's an exhale to twist up, inhale through center, exhale to reach. Nice and smooth, nice and controlled, never forcing anything, not twisting in either direction more than you can. Thinking about turning that chest towards the ceiling. And then just as before, go ahead and finish the one that you're on. And the next time you reach that left arm through, melt it onto the mat, turning your left temple to find the mat. And then reach the right arm out in front of you. And then square your hips. So pull your left hip back so your hips are even. And take a few breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. And then sliding the right hand back, pressing up, coming back to all fours, walking those knees back to that modified plank. One round of our modified Chaturanga. Inhaling up to Cobra, exhaling back to not down dog, Child's Pose. And then this time rising up, lowering all the way down, and we're going to come to Sphinx. So come all the way to the mat, and then slide the hands out, pressing up onto your Sphinx Pose. So Sphinx Pose is a great one for your back, especially those of you who feel like you don't have quite as much flexibility in your low back. Press into your palms and onto your forearms. So you're really lifting your belly and your chest away from the mat. Think about squeezing your shoulder blades together, thinking about pulling your shoulder blades back so you're really open here through the chest. And your gaze is just forward. We don't want to strain our necks. You're just nicely looking forward. Gluteal muscles are squeezing tight to protect that low back. And just take a few breaths here. So it's one of those postures that might not look that impressive. You might think, oh, that's really easy, but there's a lot going on. Good, and releasing that down. Push up and back. This time, bring your toes together, but let's separate our knees and lengthen our spine out. And our resting warrior. So hands reach forward, knees are separated, and you sit back towards your heels. Bringing the nose and the forehead towards the mat. And then rising up, back into our hands and knees. And now just walk your hands back. We're going to end up at the back of the mat, hanging over. So walk all the way back, and then hang over in your forward fold. So just letting yourself go. Make sure you can shake your head no. Nod your head yes while you're hanging here. Let everything just sort of hang. Knees are slightly bent, just loose. Maybe a little twist, whatever feels good. You just want to really release here. And then bend your knees pretty deeply. Let those hips drop. And keep your spine rounded as you roll up. One vertebra at a time until you come all the way to standing. And then once you come to standing, keep going. Bring your arms up overhead. And then keep going, rising up onto tippy toes. So you're making yourself as tall as you possibly can. Focus on a point in front of you to keep your balance. Shoulders pulling down away from the ears. And then press the palms together and lower onto your heels. Good. Bring your hands behind your body. Want you to bring your, you know what, just bring your hands to your hips. I lied. Elbows are going to go behind your body. Hands on hips. So feet right under our hips. Neutral spine. So knees are soft, pelvis in neutral, nice and tall through here, but neutral, right? Not sticking our chest out. I want you to maintain this as we work on opening our shoulder area here. So it's the pectoralis minoris, which is this little short muscle here. We're going to work on stretching that. So from here, we're going to inhale. As you exhale, I want you to pull the shoulder blades together without arching the back, right? We're just pulling the shoulder blades, pulling the elbows towards one another. And take a couple of deep breaths. So if you look at my spine, I haven't bent my back too much, but I'm pulling the elbows together, really stretching here. And then just release. Let it go. And again, inhale. Exhale, pull the elbows back. Opening up the chest. I'm just turning different directions so you can see me. Take a couple breaths there. So I'm really pulling the elbows towards one another. Of course, they won't make it to one another, but it's not about arching the back. It's just about opening that chest area. And then release the hands down, palms forward, like in our Tadasana, and see if you can maintain that nice openness of your chest. But again, without sticking the chest out, without arching the back, nothing crazy. Make sure you can still breathe. Don't want to lose that. Good, bringing the hands to heart center. Walk to the front of the mat, because you're probably not there. And simply step the left foot back. So the right foot is going to be forward, left foot is back in our high lunge position. So the heel is lifted, not warrior, but just a high lunge, all toes facing forward. Good, find your balance point here. When you're ready, inhale, bring those arms up. So you can bend that front knee as much as is comfortable for you. It can be a tiny bend or it can be up to 90 degrees. We're going to twist towards the right. Right arm goes back, left arm goes forward. And then I want you to bring your left arm across your thigh and reach the right arm overhead. It's like the reverse of the side angle bend. Bit of a twist. And then coming up, bringing that right arm behind the back, left arm lifts, variation of our exalted warrior. Take a deep breath into that left side body. Bringing the gaze slightly up in the direction of the ceiling. Good, coming back into our twist, nice and high, chest is lifted. And then come back to front, hands come back to heart center. We're going to step into making our way towards tree, okay? So you're going to step forward, and that left foot is either going to come right here by your left ankle, up to the left thigh if you prefer. Remember, we never put it on our knee, but if you want, you could bring it up to your inner thigh. I said thigh a second ago, I meant calf. It can be on your ankle, your calf, or your thigh. Ooh, I just slid off. Finding your balance there. Your arms can either be on a wall or a chair supporting you. They could be here at heart center. They could be extended. You decide. Pick a point in front of you at eye level to focus on. Couple more breaths. Ooh, my foot keeps sliding on my pants tonight. It doesn't want to stay where it is. Good, and then release this with control. Set that foot down, bringing the hands back to heart center. Inhale, extend those arms up, open the chest towards the ceiling. Exhale, releasing all the way down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, release, and just hang. Let the knees slightly bend, pushing the hips back, and then rolling all the way up the spine, growing taller, one vertebra at a time, just as we did before. Once you come up, bring those arms up, rising up onto tippy toes. This is also good for our balance. And then hands to heart center, lowering back down, heels to the earth. Stepping the left foot back to find our lunge on this side. So, I said left foot, I meant right foot. Left foot forward, right foot back. Knee is bent. I stepped the correct foot back, just didn't say it correctly. So your right heel is lifted. Your toes are facing forward. And just like before, you can bend that front knee as much or as little as you want. If you're stable, go ahead and raise those arms up overhead. And then this time we're twisting the other direction towards the left knee. So left arm is shooting behind you, right arm is shooting in front of you. Variation here of our side ankle bend. So right elbow comes across that thigh, left arm reaches overhead. And then rising up, left arm goes behind the back, right palm flips up. Variation of our exalted warrior. And then back to where we started in our twist. Working your way to center. Hands to heart center. Stepping that right foot forward, and again, it can just stay here like a kickstand by your ankle. It can come onto your ankle, onto your calf, or all the way up on your thigh, just never on your knee. And you've got slippery pants like me tonight and your foot's just sliding, just put it down lower. If you're feeling unstable, it can sometimes help to just extend those arms out. If you're feeling very stable, you can challenge yourself and lift the arms up. Ooh, I gotta move this foot down. I don't know why these pants are so slippery. Wherever you are, opening that knee out to the side. Open up through the hip. Inhaling and exhaling. Good, and then releasing that foot down. Bringing the hands back to heart center. Inhale, extending up. Exhale, floating forward, releasing all the way down. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift. Exhale, releasing all the way down. Bending the knees, dropping the hips, rolling all the way up. And this time staying on our feet, just extend those arms up, give yourself a little deeper back bend. So pressing the hips forward, contracting the glutes, and then exhale, bring those hands to heart center. We're going to step out to the long edge of the mat. So whichever direction is going to allow you to keep facing me, just step out, it doesn't particularly matter. Turning both feet forward. Bring the hands behind the back, clasping the hands together. Inhale, opening the chest towards the sky. So you're really pulling the hands down, holding the shoulders back, opening the throat towards the ceiling. And then flat back, hinging forward, reaching the arms up overhead so they're dropping towards the floor without ever forcing them. Don't push or bounce or strain. And then pulling yourself all the way back up. So we're going to do a few standing postures and we're just going to go side to side, okay? So you might be facing the same direction as me or the opposite, but we're just going to go side to side, so we'll cover everything. So I'm going to pivot this right foot towards the front of the mat. The left foot is going to be something of an angle. It's going to be planted. I'm going to extend the arms to find my triangle. So we're going to hinge forward, reaching, reaching, reaching in that triangle. Let that right arm drop down, and the left arm comes up, turning the gaze towards the ceiling. Again, never pushing on the shin or bearing your weight on your shin. If it's a challenge and you would prefer to put your hands on a block, you can do that. Good, and then press yourself up. We're going to transition this to a warrior two. So I usually need to move my foot forward to do that. Bending that front knee into warrior two. So the right toes are pointing forward, knee over ankle. Left foot hasn't moved, it's still in that same position. Gazing out over the front hand, pulling the shoulder blades together so you're really activating the back muscles. Now regular side angle bend, so the right arm is going to come across the thigh, left arm is going to reach overhead. Long stretch through the side body. Pressing up, reversing that, left arm behind the back, right arm flips up. Keeping the nice bend in the front knee, never losing the bend. Good, coming back to center. Pivoting around so all toes are facing towards the corners of the mat. Cactus pose. We're going to do 3 plies down into goddess. So we're going to lower it down, exhale, press up. So what are we thinking about here? Weight in our hips, or in our heels, pushing our hips back, and our knees are tracking over ankles towards the toes, not collapsing inwards, and not going forward over the toes. I think this was actually 4. That's okay. Good, release that. Bring the toes back to parallel, facing forward. Bring those hands back behind the back, squeezing them together, pressing the hips forward to open up towards the ceiling. And then forward fold, reaching those arms overhead. Inhale, exhale. And coming on back up. Same thing on the other side. So I'm going to pivot that left foot towards the front of the mat. Pivot the back foot, the right foot at an angle. Arms extend, legs are straight. Trikonasana is first. So we're going to hinge forward, leaning towards that left leg. Let the left arm just drop down. Right arm comes up. Belly button is in, and this has a nice long line. No twisting or bending. So you might not be very low. You might be up here. That's fine. Inhale, exhale. Next inhale, coming up. Coming into our Virabhadrasana 2. So bending that front knee. I've always got to separate my feet a little bit more. You might not have to, but in triangle, usually you have a narrower stance. Knee over ankle, as deep a bend as you want. Gazing out over that front hand. Side angle bend, left arm across the thigh, reaching that right arm overhead. Pressing up, right hand behind the back, left palm flips up, reversing your warrior. And coming back up, straightening the front leg, pivoting towards the front of the mat. Release the arms, just wiggle those feet a little bit closer together. And now we're going to hinge forward here, coming all the way down. Taking a couple of breaths, just releasing into it. Good. Walk towards the front of the mat, bending your knees as much as you need to then drop that back knee down. We're going to come to pigeon. So from here, the right leg is going to come across the body and find the mat, and that left leg is going to reach behind you. Okay? I just didn't want to go all the way into down dog, but if that's easier for you, you can certainly do that. Basically, we're just looking to get into pigeon. So the left leg is shooting behind you, right foot is coming out as much as you can, squaring off your hips so your right foot doesn't drop onto the mat. Chest is lifted. This part's important. Stay nice and lifted. Think about opening the chest, pulling the shoulders back, maybe even looking up towards the ceiling. And then if you want, extending that spine long and releasing down onto the mat. You can make a pillow with your hands. You could also take a block and put your head on a block in any position. And then this is the one I was saying, if this doesn't work, if this is uncomfortable for you, you can flip onto your back and do the modified version of this. That figure 4 position we did. We'll take a few breaths here. And then go ahead and bring those hands back, pressing yourself up, stepping that foot back, pressing in just to a brief child's pose or resting warrior. And then coming up and going to the other side. So if you want to go to down dog to get there, you certainly can. If you can just bring that foot up and bring it across your body, you can just do that. So the left foot's going to come forward, right foot's going to shoot back. Again, making sure you're not flopping onto that left glute. Keep the hips forward. Take a moment to set up. Press into the hands to really lengthen the spine, pulling the shoulder blades back, opening the chest and throat towards the ceiling. Taking a couple of breaths here. Keep scooching that leg back as much as possible, bringing yourself into that kind of half splits position. Then when you're ready, you can go ahead, if you want, and fold down. And again, if you're doing the modification of this, you just switch sides. This one is not the best for everyone. If it bothers your knee, if it bothers your hip, if you just can't get into it. And then pressing yourself back up. Step that foot back, coming to resting warrior for a moment. So your toes come together, your knees are separated. Hands can come forward if that's comfortable for you, reaching down, but just relax into this. Long spine, melting down. And then go ahead and come back up, spin those legs around, and we're going to lower down onto the mat. Keep a block handy if you've got one. You can also use a cushion or a book or something like that. We're going to come to a supported bridge. So bringing your feet fairly close to your body, feet parallel, knees parallel, lifting your hips up and putting this block under whatever height you want, right? So you can be here on your level 1 position. You could be up on the edge on your level 2 position, or you could be all the way up on your level 3 position. So you decide what's the best one for you. Chin is towards chest. Pick your arm position. I usually just like my arms down by my side, but maybe you want to cactus them. That's an option here. So wherever you are, whichever one of those positions, 1, 2, or 3, or if you just have a pillow or something else, a book, wherever that is fine. The idea is to get the hips slightly elevated, opening up that chest a bit. Maybe a bit of a curve in the low back, just depending on what you're using and how high you are. I'm just going to hold here for about a minute. I just wanted to give you some moments in an inverted position. Reconnecting with the breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. And then go ahead and come down out of that, so lifting that block out from under you, or whatever you're using, releasing down, hug your knees into your chest, giving yourself a little rock from side to side. And our last posture will be fish pose, a modification of it. You can do this on the blocks like we did at the beginning, but I'm going to give you a way to do it without the blocks. So extending the legs below, bringing the hands under the body. So it depends on the length of your arms and your torso. My hands are down somewhere in the tops of my thighs. Palms are face down. Really pull those shoulder blades together as much as you can. So as you do that, the back of your head is on the mat. You're really working your arms under your body, under the body as much as you possibly can. And then you should feel that bringing your solar plexus up, pulling the shoulders back, and just giving you a nice open posture here. And just take a few really deep breaths. Imagine you feel that chest really expanding on the inhale. Puffing up towards the ceiling. And releasing. And then gently releasing out of that. One last time, bringing the knees into the body, coming to happy baby. So reaching the hands in between the legs. Grabbing the feet or the ankles and just massaging your back by rocking gently side to side. Just like a baby does when they find their feet. And then bringing the soles of your feet together, lowering them down onto the mat to butterfly. So we're going to stay here for a couple of moments. So you can just let your knees be here in space. If that feels uncomfortable and you want to be more supportive, you could put something like a block, a pillow, or anything under them. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong. You just want to be comfortable. And then it's your option if you want to have your arms in that cactus position. So this is a super open position. If you feel more comfortable bringing your hands to your heart and to your chest, you can do that instead. And from here, I want you to take really deep breaths, as deep as you can. So it's a nice long inhale through the nose for maybe like a 6 count, as much as you can do it. And then really slowly for an 8, a 10, or even a 12 count, release the breath. So I don't want to count it for you because we're all going to be different. But just really think about deep inhale. Pausing for a moment at the top, and then long, slow exhale. See if you can make each inhale be the same, and each exhale the same, but really long, longer than the inhale. You're welcome to stay in this posture or whenever you want. extending your legs down below you for your Savasana with your arms by your side. But if you feel comfortable and you want to stay there for your relaxation, just stay there. And continue breathing as deeply as you need, allowing your body to relax and release. You go ahead and allow the breath to deepen again. Just like we were doing a moment ago, inhaling really long, exhaling really slowly. And allow that breath to travel all the way down your arms and legs and begin to reawaken your muscles. Imagine the oxygen recharging each cell, each muscle, each joint. And wiggle your fingers and toes, roll your wrists and ankles, roll your head from side to side, and then draw your knees in and roll yourself onto your side. You can rest on your bottom arm, curling over for a moment in the fetal position, and taking a couple of breaths there, thanking yourself for practicing. Protecting your body in this nice, safe, closed position. And then pressing yourself up, finding a seated position with your legs crossed gently in front of you. Tall, long spine. Take a deep inhale as you extend your arms out, reaching them up overhead. Pressing the palms together, exhale as you bring them down to heart center. Taking a moment to remember again your intention, or to whom or to what you are dedicating your practice. And just take a moment to reconnect with that. Om Shanti Om. Namaste.